used to tell my staff, the bigger you get, the more people you deal with, the more crazy you have to deal with.
So we were allowed to open, and I'll never forget the day. The town fire marshal came in and, in the middle of lessons, shut down the building. We had teachers who were dating, and it went very, 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 very wrong. How do you run a music school when teachers have restraining orders against each other? It kind of self-resolved. It's a little fresh. But I'm like, okay, nobody has tried to kill me just yet. The mafia has not tried to take away my music school.
Dr. Talonda Thomas, so good to have you on the show. We've been friends a long, long time, and I was so happy when you agreed to be on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to even be invited and on this platform to share it with you. So thank you so much for the invitation.
You founded the New York Musicians Center in 2006, transforming it from a small home studio into one of Long Island's leading music schools. And you announced the first franchise location in Levittown, marking a major step toward national expansion, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. You've created structured teacher training and mentorship programs that have improved retention. You're the recipient of multiple Best of Long Island awards for outstanding music education and community impact. You've been featured on major media outlets, including local news and educational podcasts, where you've shared insights on music entrepreneurship and arts leadership. You have been so active in this industry, and I'm so privileged to have you on here and appreciate all that you've done and continue to do to expand this wonderful industry. So tell me, like, when you started your school, did you buy into the industry? Did you start it from the ground up? How did you start it?
Yeah, this was definitely a started from the ground up story. I came to New York City to finish my internship, and I thought I was going to be a public school teacher, which I did spend a good part of my career doing. But when I got here, I found out that apparently you have to make money to eat and to pay New York City rent. And yeah, so that kind of changed things pretty quickly. And I was thinking, what do I know how to do, or what can I sell? And I knew music, and I'd studied music, and so I started teaching lessons from my Queens, New York apartment, to feed myself, to feed my son, and then we ended up going into the Boys and Girls Clubs and teaching music there. And I kind of stepped away from it for a little while because I wasn't really getting the students that I wanted to get. And so, even though I continued a little bit on the side teaching, I was working in the public schools as a music teacher and music administrator. And one day, I would say desperation kind of kicked in there because they told me, hey, if the budget doesn't pass this year, you are one of the lowest people in seniority and you will lose your job. And so, long story short, I ran out and got a lease for a building, not knowing what the heck I was doing, and opened up that way. And so, we started in this building where I'm at right now with no students, zero know how, and leading to now where we have over 1,100 students who come every week. And it's just been a heck of a journey.
Wow, that's amazing. You signed a lease with no know-how and no students.
Nope. Kind of crazy.
And you know what I love about that is you say desperate out of desperation. You knew you had to do something, right?
Yeah.
And how often is that the case, right? When some of the biggest, most powerful things in our life happen because we're desperate. We have to make a move.
Yeah.
We have to make a change.
That's what they say. Desperation leads to inspiration. And I was inspired, all right, inspired to not be unemployed and to make something happen. So, but you know what? I wouldn't trade it. And the joke was on me because I didn't get let go from the job. The budget passed. So then I ended up with a very full-time job and business at the same time.
So you had it anyway. So,
Yep.
like, how did you? What's your instrument?
So piano was my primary instrument, although I'm a
Okay.
singer. I wish I got to practice piano more. I probably am a better pianist than singer, maybe. But yeah, that's what I taught. I was a chorus teacher for many years, and I taught piano.
Oh, interesting. Did you take lessons, like, as a kid? Did you like, have you been a musician your whole life?
Yeah, I sang in the church choir when I was younger. Come from a family of people who love to sing, great singers. And for me, I was very lucky. The lady who was across the street from me was the neighborhood piano teacher, and I think she was charging like $10 per lesson, something like just unreal. I just got
Yeah.
so lucky. And she is Rosemary Reed, the most amazing woman and piano teacher, is
Oh,
the whole reason why I'm right here because I had that mentor who got me started.
what was it about her that just inspired you?
Um, she really didn't take crap. She was sweet. She was very sweet. But no no excuses. Did you practice? Did you show me the progress? Show me and she was adamant on like no, we're not just going to play through something. We're going to make something perfect. And I think that I probably take that in life in different ways that like, no, if we don't have something, let's refine it. Let's keep trying to make it better. Let's keep knowing that we can push ourselves to be better. So,
Yeah, yeah, kinda that demand for excellence. Yeah,
yes.
I can relate to that. I had teachers that did that, and then I had teachers that didn't do that, and it's funny how,
Hmm.
like, some teachers just wanna be your friend, and that kinda feels good in the moment, but long term, those aren't the ones that really leave the impact, in your life.
No.
Because a great coach or teacher is somebody who sees a better version of you
Yeah,
inside, right? And they can pull that
absolutely.
out. Did you have any siblings? Or do you have any
I
siblings?
do. I do. I have two older sisters. They're actually the reason why I almost didn't get piano lessons because they kept quitting lessons. So my father was like, "We're not going to have her continue," and then, or at least that's what the story I hear was.
Okay.
But yeah. So I am the youngest of three girls.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And they didn't continue with music. They went on and did something different.
Yeah, they did. They ended up going and doing different things, but their kids are great musicians.
Mm,
So they kept it a
yeah.
little bit. They kept it going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like once you get a taste of music in your life, it's pretty tough to like leave it forever. Even
Yeah.
if you don't get really good at it. I don't know. I just have seen that, unless you have a really toxic experience, where and usually that's from a teacher, speaking of
Right.
teachers. But yeah, I definitely have seen that to be the case for sure. So you did now, did either of your parents play music? Like, did you have any kind of inspiration aside from just this teacher that was pushing you?
I had a lot of inspiration, and my mother, she still sings. She actually is a student at my school.
Oh,
And
awesome.
it is. And I think my father used to sing a little bit too, but I would probably say some of my biggest inspirations, not only my piano teacher, but having access to music in school was extremely important. I was a bad kid. I was one of those kids who was always getting into trouble. And I found myself actually, I had my son in my junior year of high school. And
Wow.
music and sports were my thing. But having him, I couldn't do sports. You can't be 6 months pregnant playing soccer, but I could still be in the chorus. And so, and music was the one thing that I think it allowed me to stay focused. It allowed me to have those music teachers who said, we love having you in this group. You're a part of a group. You're a part of an ensemble. And it was my steadiness. It was the one thing that was consistent for me. And I, to this day, believe that because of the music teachers in my life, that I graduated high school early, went on to college, brought my son with me to college and studied music. And it stuck.
Wow. That's amazing. So you had you had him when you were a junior in high school, and I'm sure life looked very different on like once you had him. Whereas before, like you said, playing soccer,
Yeah.
doing sports, doing music. Did what do you feel like? What do you feel like like if you were to boil it down, what was like one of the big changes in your life, just in your perspective on things?
Well, at that time, I feel like Personally, I found that there were some people who either flocked to me to help or shunned me and turned away. It was a
Mm,
very big, drastic change. Even teachers, just in the public schools, some flocked to help, some were quick to pull away in distance. And so, just in general in life, I think that's when I figured out that I need to find my tribe. I need to find my people who are the people who are, you know, they want to see me do well. They want to see me be successful. And even to this day, I think it's important for us to find our tribe, find, the, whether it be friends, family, teachers, um, customers, find the ones who want us to be successful, who want us to win, because sadly there are people who don't want you to win. And that's okay too. But you have to find those people who are your tribe, and they're not going to hold you away, keep you away from success. They're going to actually uplift you and allow you to uplift them as well.
hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Uh, Now, when you started the school, so like there was a period of time. How much time between that, like junior high school and starting your school? How much time was there between there?
So I started my company at 21. So,
Okay.
yeah, I started my company at 21. I was very fortunate. I had a friend who, she was in business. She was a film composer, and she said you have to start like a business, a company, an LLC. I thought she was absolutely crazy. I'm like, I'm barely, barely legal to drink. And here I am in New York City, and you're telling me to start an actual company. So yeah, I was 21, so I was very young. We're actually next fall we'll be celebrating the 20th year since the company was founded.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome.
Crazy.
So you started this thing. You signed the lease. Going back to the lease here. So you signed the lease. You had no students. No experience.
Yeah.
And again, out of desperation. But then the budget goes through, and you have this full time job. So how did you how did you start it and get it going and get students and teachers and all of that?
Yeah, it was definitely slow to start for sure. I was lucky I had some students from the public schools who, who knew me, trusted me, some teachers that were there who brought their kids over. So we relied heavily on referrals at first until I learned about marketing and all of that. But I had to bring in other help, people to run the desk, because I literally couldn't do that a full-time job. um, and I had two boys at the time, and so I had to be a lot to a lot of different people, and I had to find out who can help. So the first person was a friend, and so that friend, God bless her, she was a mom from the football team, and she was like, "I've got time on my hands," and she helped me out, and she might have been, I love her. She might have been unorthodox. For example, I'll never forget seeing her brushing her teeth in the lobby, and something you wouldn't expect from your receptionist. But thank God she helped us grow. She was there as a presence, and it sometimes meant that during my break from work, I would spend my lunch break running to the school scrubbing toilets. But you do what you got to do. You do
So
what you
she
got to
helped
do.
you with most of the administrative. Did she teach as well, or was
No,
she just
just
yeah?
administrative. Yeah. I was lucky I had colleagues in music education who some of them jumped on. They were like, yeah, we'll teach there. And some of them came on and taught, for a long while with me. And because I was also in the public school at that time, I also had student teachers who needed jobs. And so I was able to start hiring them. And then they would introduce me to their friends. And we just grown out that way, first organically. And we just had to invest a lot into myself, into learning how to be a business owner and a leader.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so true. And that's, at least for me, that it wasn't until that point that I really started to see more exponential growth is
Yeah.
once I invested in myself and my mind and my perspective and my thought and then surrounded like I love how you said finding your tribe.
Yeah.
That is so true on many levels, even like the personal level, yes, but also I think the business,
1000%.
finding your tribe is so important. So you really did this thing organically at the beginning. You obviously were good at, networking and you knew a lot of different people. So you brought them in and kind of got this thing going, kind of muscled it to get
Yeah.
it started. And So at what point did you realize, hey, I need to develop myself as a business owner in order to take this thing to the next level?
It was probably about maybe 6 months into this, and I was like, I've got
So
to
pretty
find help
quickly.
pretty quickly. I'm not going to go broke for long. I'm like, those bills are still coming in, and so once I realized that, okay, you can, you know, break up your credit cards and all of that to begin with, but then what are you going to do? And so I learned pretty quickly that I needed to find something, and so I just started expanding my network and getting help, finding mentors, and to this day, I'm just always. I mean, I just came from a conference the other day, and I'm always trying to network and find more people, even in other industries, because business is business. And yeah, music schools are special and unique, and there's some things that are very special to us, but business owners across the board, they have the same issues. They have that we all are dealing with people and processes
Right.
and needing to refine all of those things.
Yeah, it's totally true. One of the things I've always admired about you is you seem to be really good at making friends, at like connecting with people. And I mean, and I'm serious. Like every time I've reached out to you over the years, it's like we just pick up right where we left off, and there's always a positivity. One of the things I've noticed with music school owners, especially recently, I've seen sort of this trend of hiring teacher, like finding teachers being a really difficult thing for a
Hmm.
lot of music school owners. And I think part of it is kind of this idea of, like one of the things that we did when we had our school was we had a list of active teachers, then we had a
Hmm.
list of former teachers, right? And then we had a list of prospective teachers. Like we had three lists of teachers, and only one of those lists was actually our active teachers.
Right.
But we tried to maintain relationships with the teachers even after they left, because you never know. Maybe one will come back and sub, right?
Yep.
Or maybe things change in their life. So what were some of the, like, how do you maintain, like kind of, I guess just as sort of a general question, but like how do you maintain those relationships with so many different people, and how does that affect your hiring?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes a challenge, especially as the business owner, if you are not there, if you're not working in the business, I think it's a challenge sometimes uh, to build those relationships as strong as they need to be. And it's something that I still am trying to get even better at. I'll tell you, yesterday we had our staff meeting with my administrative team, and one of the last things that one of my front desk people said to me was, we get so much energy from you, and is there an opportunity for the teachers to get the same thing from you?
Mm,
And so I was like, you know what, we have to find that. And right now sometimes they're one-offs. They're like, when I see you, just giving them time, and people need to get to know you. I think it's funny you said that I'm good at meeting people and all that. I'm extremely introverted, but
yeah, you'd never
extreme
know.
I'm extremely introverted. You put me in a room with people I don't know, and I'm searching for one person that I might know and standing next to them the whole time. And then you can go around and connect me. And but once I meet someone, I think if you're genuine and if you're a good person, I think if you're a positive person, which you have to be as a business owner, there's a reason why most business owners go out of business. They're not resourceful. They're not relentless. They're not, they're willing to say they're willing to give up. Sometimes they just can't push through. They don't have it in their, in them to push through some of the hardest days, because it is not easy. But I think if you can be positive, and if you can show that and show yourself and show your people, show your teachers who you are, I think that it makes a big difference. And so even though I don't do the hiring for our teachers, I'm here in our building, and there are interviews actually going on right now. But my general manager is conducting those interviews, and she knows our company core values that come from the top of the organization and flow all the way down, of exactly what it is that who it is that should be here. Who are the right people? Do they eat, live, and breathe our core values? Is it in them? And if it is, then I think that's the best way to hire, because then you're bringing in people, and you can let them get to know you over time. I think one thing I want to get better at is having even more events where we can spend time as a team. When you get 60 teachers on your staff, it's a little harder, but I'm excited about our holiday party and just being able to just hang out and relax, and again just get bonding time with them. And last year, even at our holiday party, when we had that bonding time, we had one of our teachers bring in his twin brother who just learned to love the brand, and now he's working for us too. So it's our way of getting to know each other and meeting new people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think you have to have events for the teachers to show them that there's more to the business, there's more to their job than just
Yeah.
showing up and teaching, because it kind of feels like they're on a lonely island sometimes when they have their own schedule. It's not the same as other teachers' schedules.
Right.
It's like ships
Very
passing in the night,
transactional.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and what I found is that people are naturally uh community oriented. People want to be in community. And if there's an opportunity where they can be in community, then they'll oftentimes take that
Right.
opportunity. And if you can provide that and nurture that, yeah, that was one of the things we really started focusing on before we sold our schools, is how can we nurture teacher community?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people oftentimes, they come for the paycheck, but they stay for the community.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
love that.
And that's not always, I mean, not everybody does that, but I think that really is more so the case than I think we maybe give it credit for. So anyway, that's cool. That's really cool. So when it comes to like um, sort of the hardships that you've experienced in your school, especially near the beginning, I feel like that's usually where we have to really fight through the fire.
Yeah.
Um, can you think of some stories or some examples of times when you've been through some, just like, how are we going to get through this situations?
So many. I'll throw you a couple. Like
Okay.
we could be here for days. Um, I will say I feel like one of the biggest ones that was an issue for us was, um, you know, I don't come from big money. I don't come from old wealth. I don't come from, um, you know, families in business who tell you how to operate things and your finances. And when we started growing quickly, and I was self-funded. And so at that time, I took some bad advice from friends who were running music schools, and they were like, "Hey, get a loan with this company." And so I ended up getting a loan to help us expand. And I think a lot of business owners, they don't talk about this much, but then they might find themselves taking hard money loans, and
Mm,
the factor loans, the ones that have the crazy rates, and you just dig yourself in. And when you dig yourself in so much, all of a sudden, I think that it causes you sometimes to get over your head. And when you get in over your head, sometimes there's no coming out. So for us, we got to a point where we were um, our payments were over 20,000 per month that we were paying in loan payments. Over 20,000 a month. It was crazy.
oh my
And
goodness.
so, yeah, so how can a business owner keep up with that? I think that's impossible. Luckily, we were able to see ourselves out of that, but for a lot of business owners, that would have put them out of business. Um, so that was one thing that loomed. I think just learning how to get good advice and learning how to grow in a healthy way. Um, and then another one, of course, was COVID. I mean, everybody went through crazy things during COVID, but when we shut down and had to put 700 students on Zoom overnight, I thought that was the hard part. But we reopened. And at the time when we reopened, we had a couple of workers who didn't want to come back to work, some members of our front desk team. So there were all sorts of things in the area where local businesses were calling down and putting complaints that, oh, this business shouldn't be open yet. And so we opened, we were allowed to open. And I'll never forget the day when we had what do they call them? It was like the town fire marshal came in and said, "You guys opened too soon. We got a complaint." And in the middle of lessons,
Oh,
shut down the building, had to send everybody who had just returned to music lessons out of the building and told them they couldn't take their music lessons. I don't think anybody ever imagines the fire marshal coming in and shutting them down now. They
No.
felt
Yeah.
really, really stupid the next day when we went in there, and I was like, well, how come we can't be open, but this music school is open, that music school, all the other music schools have been allowed to reopen. And so they allowed us to reopen the next day, or maybe it was like 2 days later. But but you almost think reputation wise, like the damage is done. Like, what are your parents going to think about you if
Right.
so
Yeah, you were irresponsible. You shouldn't have opened when you did, and yeah, that
right,
was such
right,
a hard
right.
time.
But yeah, so I think that was a rough time for many music school owners, but as business owners in general. But we've just had so many different things. And then I'll give you a fun one. I recently had a situation where we had colleagues, we had teachers who were dating, and it went very, 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 very wrong. And let we're talking restraining orders, all sorts of things. And how do you run a music school when teachers have restraining orders against each other? Like, you just never think about these things when you open up a business, when you open up a music school.
So, how did you?
So how did I resolve this?
Yeah.
It it kind of self resolved. It, it's a little fresh. It kind of self resolved. I'll just say that one arrest with one led to another arrest, led to yeah, it just kept spiraling. Luckily, after I was alerted of what was going on, we were able to, and then how do you all of a sudden you have your teachers, one of them having the most students out of all your teachers in your school, that you're who's so beloved, great person. I love them dearly, you know, both stellar teachers in my opinion. But then when you all of a sudden have to try and replace them quickly, try and do damage control with your students, and try and, for me, I take it really seriously when a teacher ends up leaving and parting ways from the academy, from our school. When our students lose a teacher, to me, especially if it's on a bad experience, like, for me, I feel that in my gut, and I take
Yeah.
it really personally because I know that that child may never play guitar ever again because of their experience that they had and losing a teacher. My own kids, they studied music here, and guess what? They both stopped taking music lessons the day that their teacher stopped.
Hmm.
So I understood that on the parent, you know, side. So I take it very seriously. But to your point of hurdles that we've had them all. We've had so many, and I always am still learning that there's even more that it could be so much worse. Like last week, I got to meet or got to hear speak the founder, one of the founders of Remax Realty, and he was telling us stories about how the mafia basically tried to kill him, tried to get him thrown out of his company, did get him thrown out of his company. He was able to come back in, but I'm like, okay, nobody has tried to kill me just yet. I'm not putting that out in the universe. No one has, the mafia has not tried to take away my music schools. But it's crazy what business owners can go through. It's a wild, wild world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I used to tell my staff the bigger you get, the more people you deal with, the more crazy you have to deal with. And
Yes.
there's so many people that you're interacting with, or at least your business is interacting with on a
Right.
daily basis, that
Yeah.
stuff's just going to come up because it's human beings that we're interacting with.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to come back to sort of this mentorship and coaching, and because you've done so much of this, and I've always been so impressed with how like you're always looking for opportunities to learn. What are some of like the most impactful coaches or mentors or lessons that you feel like you've learned just over the years of growing your business?
So many. So many mentors. I've had, and I think they've all just kind of built me into, and really built this whole mentorship piece for me and what it means and how important it is. the first person I think about, Anne Marie Hudley Simmons, is a local, amazing music educator and administrator. And when I went into education, she kind of took me under her wing, and she probably knew I wasn't a person who was going to ask for the mentorship, so she would kind of when somebody tells you something, but they say you're volunteering, we call it being voluntold. Sometimes she would
Right.
volunteer me to do things, or we'd go to put on a concert together, and then she'd call me like 30 minutes beforehand and say, "Hey, I'm actually not going to be there, so you're going to run this." And I had no idea that she was actually that she was forcing me to learn and to grow. And so I think that was my first true mentor. But I've had mentors in the music space. Right now, I'm doing, coaching and mentorship with the amazing Shannon Wilburn, and also with the president of Great Clips. Um, there's
Wow.
just so many people who just are pouring in information and trying to be helpful. And I think that it's extremely important for us to turn around and for us to mentor our people. I think that they need that.
Yeah.
They need to know how to lead. They need to feel you and your presence and your energy. And you have to build your bench. It's not going to be you
Yeah.
forever. So we have to build up the people around us, and make sure. I mean, we talked about even my son who I had in high school. He's now working for the school, and he's just
Mm.
one of many people who every day are serving our people, and we're every day just trying to learn how to serve people better. And just one of our core values is continuous improvement. And so for me, I take that to heart, and always trying to be better today than yesterday. It's me versus me, and for my staff, it's them versus them. They have to always just try and grow every day.
If you were to, talk to a school owner, like a music school owner that is maybe thinking, gosh, I don't have the money to hire a coach or learn all of these things. Um, what would be some of the, like, especially for somebody starting out, like talking to your
Mm-hmm.
younger self, when you were starting out and you didn't have any experience or anything, would you do things differently? Would you advise your younger self to um, yeah, just to take a different road or to get there faster?
I think we grew at a great pace. Instead of growing faster, I think that I would grow smarter. I would tell my younger self, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on a coach if you don't have one to start. And first of all, some of the people who have the greatest knowledge, they do it for free. They do it at no cost. I told you, I one of my greatest mentors right now, Rob from Great Clips, free. People who are extremely
Wow.
successful want to turn around and to teach you. So you have to find them. Um, Go to conferences. Last year, I went to a conference, and it was my first time going to that conference. And I knew there were some big people in the room who, were responsible for our American economy. And I said to someone who had long been to that conference, "Who are the three people in here who I have to meet?" And I made it my business to find those three people and to connect with those three people. And you can do that whether it's at a conference. You could do that whether it's at the Chamber of Commerce. You can, buy a Chamber of Commerce membership. That's not too much. Go get in that room. Find people who have been doing this a long time. They want to give you information. They want to see other people be successful because they know how hard it was for them. So I would tell myself, don't go try and grow so fast. Try and grow smart, and do it the right way. And I'll leave this with something that someone told me last week who I met. He has 100 locations, and he said, just remember, fast is slow and slow is fast. If you grow fast, you probably are going to grow the wrong way, and it's going to slow you down and give you more problems. If you grow slow, you're going to go fast.
Hmm. Wow. That's good. I've never heard that before. That's
Yeah.
good. So now you're franchising, which is
Yeah.
amazing. I don't know. I don't think I've. Well, I mean, I guess there's School of Rock and Bach to Rock and some of those franchises, but tell me about this. Like that. How did you stumble on this, and what's your plan with it?
Yeah, this, I think franchising just gets me so excited, for so many different reasons. How I got started is because I know as music owners, we all get lots of emails. Can I buy your music school? Can I, all sorts of things. But I had started getting emails saying, we think that you should franchise.
Hmm.
And the children's space itself is scheduled to boom. It is a growing industry, and we're actually going to be featured in the Entrepreneur magazine next month, and we were listed in the as the trends that are on. I forget the actual listing, but trends that are basically booming for 2026. And so I didn't respond to those emails about franchising. I didn't understand it. It sounded cool, but I was too busy. I was in the trenches with my business and with education and public schools. But I think about the days when I was at my job, and when I was at my day job as a music teacher. Um, any time that I had of downtime, I would find myself sitting there and writing out, okay, how can I refine this process? How can I make this easier? How can I get people? Like, I wasn't there to do it for my customers. I needed to have a process that was easy for my team. And so I didn't realize I was already kind of just laying the framework for franchising my organization for a long time. I already was systemizing everything. And so finally, I always, so every once in a while in business, you get a hurdle, you get somebody threatening you with something, whether it be threatening a lawsuit, threatening whatever it was. And I forget what it was, but um, I've gotten to a point in my life that sometimes getting threats from people or people doing terrible things against your business or trying to sabotage things for you, they've started to spark me moving forward, and it's caused me to, instead of shutting down, it's caused me to say, you know what, that thing I was putting on hold, let me go do that. And so in this case that happened, and I was like, what am I waiting on? Like, let me tell them yes. I've looked into what franchising is. It's hard to scale a business. It's hard to scale a music school. Um, but so when I looked into it, I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And it took a while. Franchising is not easy. It took us about a year of really growing out, becoming an actual franchise. It is extremely regulated. Every state has different regulations on it, different restrictions. You have to register in some states you don't, some states you have to just file in. And but so that's how we got started in it, and we just kind of went to market last fall, winter. And I will tell you, franchising has me so stinking excited because my favorite thing to do is teach and mentor. And so when I get to sit with other people and teach them how to be a good business owner, teaching them what to do, and knowing that somebody else now can have a great life and build a legacy and change lives for kids in their communities, and then pass it on to their kids if they want, or sell it one day. Like, it's just something life changing, and to be able to do that for someone else at scale, that is so freaking exciting to me.
So yeah, and that's amazing. I love that, and I agree. Like, what a cool opportunity to be able to mentor somebody.
Yeah,
Because I think one of the appealing aspects of a franchise is that you don't have to do any of the guesswork. It's already been set up for you, and that was kind of leads to my question: is like, how detailed do you have to be when you set those up? Like, if somebody's
you
coming
have to
into your
be.
franchise, yeah, like how what are you giving them?
Everything, everything. They, the whole, they got a playbook. I mean, when somebody's getting started, for example, my first franchisee is getting started, and they are going to be, opening up their first location, but they're getting everything from me. They're getting down to every paint color to purchase, like every single
Wow.
detail. What finishing for your floors, how to resolve this situation, just every nuance of every standard operating procedure, everything that we do and that we have refined. And it took a long time. And I thought spending that year that we actually refined it. And then when we went to market, I realized that we had not. And so we actually stopped selling. And what we ended up doing was just going back and working with a professional who this is what they do. They sell franchises, and going in and realizing you have to really, it has to be so, there has to be no guesswork whatsoever. When they come in, you know, everything from the blueprints for their building, everything needs to be already just laid out for them. And so you have to be extremely organized. Um, and if you're someone who doesn't want to constantly be updating your process and making it easier for other people, you shouldn't be in franchising.
Hmm.
But it makes it
Well,
easier on the franchisee level.
yeah. So the ideal avatar for you, the person that you're looking to help and mentor in this franchise, are you, describe that person. Who is that person? What situation are they in, and what kind of person are they?
Yeah, we're learning right now more about who our actual avatar is because we're seeing all sorts of people. We're getting everything from well, I'll tell you our first franchisee. Um, the wife is a employee, soon to be former employee of mine, and her husband, he's more in the business world, and so they are a great combination if you have a husband and wife. Um, you have a lot of people who are teaching in their homes running out of space and they need an actual place to teach. You have public educators who, or, businessmen, people who are just tired of working for somebody else, tired of having to say, hey, can I please get this week off for vacation? It can be so many different people. You obviously have to have income. Our range right now is between 79,000 and 181,000 that people need, depending on where they're living, to open up a New York Musician Center. But so you have to have capital. You have to, you should have decent credit. You should be able to pass a background check.
Sure.
Those are the type of people that we want to work with. But so there's so many
Any
different. I mean,
experience in the industry?
they don't have to have any experience in the industry. I had a daycare, someone
Really?
in daycare reach out yesterday. Yeah, it's kind of like the way that I hire. Um, the way that I even hire our office staff. I'm not
Mm.
necessarily looking for someone who is necessarily a musician. We're very, very creative. We can get lost in things for quite a while. Like if we could sit, if a guitarist can sit with his guitar all day, he would love to do it. You want someone who can think strategically. You want someone maybe with a background in sales, someone who is not necessarily, someone who doesn't think exactly like a small business owner, that they want to do things their way, that they are willing to follow a system, and that they do understand that if I follow a system that is proven, that I can have success rather than trying to deviate so many different things. So being a creative is awesome, but I think having sales experience, great communication skills, I think those are really, really, really important. And being great with people in general. I mean, when you are a business owner at a music school, you have to be able to speak to families of all sorts. And so for us, that's what's most important.
Wow, that's so cool. So you could, so if you're somebody who's uh, good at sales, is driven. I mean, kind of a lot of these entrepreneurial things, but maybe somebody that doesn't have all of the pieces, right? But got the income to support it. How much capital do they need to start one?
So it depends on where they live at, but it can be anywhere between 79,000 on the low end to 181 on the high end to get started. That to take them through those most crucial months and for them to get into location. Obviously, that variable changes whether they have to do a build out or whether they're coming into an office space that already has rooms available. You got to have some money to market and to be able to ramp up, and get those students in there. But yeah, so really anyone can do this if they are ready. You just have to, like you said, you have to have it in you and be willing to grind. I mean, my first franchisees, they've been looking for locations for 6 months, and they just kept getting stonewalled when trying to sign their leases. And so most people would give up,
Yeah.
in that 6 months. They've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got other things going on, but you have to be someone who's willing to push through and believe in the impact that they can make and the dream. So I think it's a cool thing. I'm looking forward to what our growth is going to look like this year, 5, 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, because really, it's like you're recruiting. You're
Yep.
looking for people that'll be good partners. So, like, okay, let's say I'm a music school owner or maybe a teacher in my house, and I'm thinking, what she's saying makes a lot of sense. Maybe this is what I should do to, take things to the next level. But how do I know that the systems, the marketing, everything that I plug into my town will actually work?
Great question. So it may not work. You may be in a town that it may not work, but we have a really great partner who actually, this is all very data driven, and they look at what communities are similar to our communities, have people who care about educating their children, who have disposable income. And so we're looking at opening up in places that people can be successful in. I think the great thing about franchising also is that there's a dating process. You don't just call up someone and say, "Hey, I want to open up a franchise," and that's it. No, it is
Yeah.
you're entering into a marriage. You're going into a contract with someone that you're going to be their partner for a period of time. So with the franchise, that could be 5, 10 years. For us, it's 5 years to start, and so you have to be able to love that person. So the great thing is that there's lots of information about franchises that's in franchisors FDDs. So and also, I think when you get involved with the franchise, speaking to actual franchisees within the system. And then you
Mhm.
also, anybody who I bring on board, they have their time with me where we go through our meetings and getting to know each other and walking through the process before something like a discovery day where somebody comes in house, sees things, and gets to see, okay, this is actually real, and there's data to back up where I should go open up my location, so that I know that I'm just not guessing. There's no guessing to this, to franchising. It has to be very, very calculated and very precise. So that way you can say, I mean, you're literally sometimes working with people's, their entire life savings to open up a business, or getting that loan from that uncle or whomever or whatever you're doing. And I take that really seriously. And so I think most good franchisors do. But there's a process. And so I welcome people definitely reaching out to me if that's something that they're interested in, and we can talk. And they can see, is this something that would be good for me? I mean, the people who I think about, even music school owners who they're stuck at 100 students and they can't ever figure out why they can't get past 100 students. They feel like they're doing all the work, but they're just stuck.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of people.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
Let's be real. That's a lot of people. I even
Yeah.
take a look at like School of Rock. If you look into School of Rock's FDD, you'll see how many students their average locations have. So
Hmm.
the information's out there. Um, the information is definitely out there. There's, so be
Well,
that as it may.
yeah, everything that you are saying about working with them and getting them started and helping them mitigate the risk, which is kind of what you're saying, right? Like mitigating the risk, you're doing your research on. Those are all things that we should all be doing before starting a music school. Like you're
Due
just taking it
diligence.
to like another level. Like
Yeah.
you're being very, very organized and systematic, which I think is fundamentally the challenge in our industry because
Yeah.
it's essentially an industry run by artists. And artists are notoriously disorganized, right? As a general
Uh-huh.
rule.
Yep.
And so it's always kind of this friction. The ones that succeed the most are, well, I have to be careful with what I say here.
I
The
feel
ones
you.
that succeed understand that being systematic is the key, is that is the way you grow in really being able to scale. I mean, it's kind of
Totally.
like take the analogy to another industry like food. The largest
Hmm.
restaurant in the world is not some hole in the wall place that has the best pasta ever. right? Like
Right.
you, if it was about being the highest quality, then we would see very
Yeah.
different outcomes for
Yep.
the largest businesses. So it's just interesting. It's the businesses that understand how to organize and systematize and create SOPs and then scale. Like that
Exactly.
is what makes the product. Alex Hormozy is somebody I really like following. I don't know if you've been to any of his stuff, but he talks a lot about this, that you need to understand the business that you're actually in, right?
Right.
I remember going to a an event with Dan Kennedy. In fact, I think you were there. I think I was with you
Hmm.
there. And I think he was the one that originally made that statement. Alex might have borrowed it from him, but he said that in the music school world, the business you're really in is the marketing business, right? And it was everyone's kind of like, wait, what? But but I mean, if you think about it, like what gets people in the door? How are you going to get the word out? Like
Right.
how are you going to grow? How are you going to scale?
Right.
Um, and so I think it's understanding the business you're really in. And like in your case, a franchise business, that's the business of systems. You're in the
Hmm.
business of creating systems and putting all those things together. And so that should be the focus, and that's what you're doing, which is amazing to me. I think it's so cool. And you're growing it. And so how do you okay, so speaking of marketing, how do you get the word out that you're now offering this franchise and music school owners to check this out? Do you have like a website, or what are you
Yeah,
what are
yeah,
you
yeah.
doing?
So we definitely have a website. People can visit us at nymcmusicfranchise.com. That's nymcmusicfranchise.com. And so that we have that platform there. However, we're trying to meet everyone. We're growing organically. We're letting our customers know. We're letting our employees know that they can too have a business. We want our customers, friends, and families to know. But we want to put it out everywhere. I mean, we've done press releases. I love going on podcasts. There's just so many ways to meet people, but there's also so many people who are. There are people who are like they just buy franchises and they have multiple brands. They just like I know a guy, he owns a cookie shop. He's a franchisor for a cookie shop. Matter of fact, shout out to Cookies and Cream. Um, and he actually was a franchisee of another brand. I believe it was 1-800 Flowers. And there are a lot of people who just go shopping for franchises because they know that franchises often work versus starting up something on your own and trying to figure it out. And so there's even franchise conferences. Like we'll be at the National Franchise Show coming up in January in New Jersey, but there are franchise shows all over the United States and all over the world of just brands who are, out there explaining their concept to people and letting them know here's why you should be with us. So there's just lots of ways to meet people. It's about meeting the right people and bringing the right people on board with you. Like I said, it's a marriage, and you're in a partnership with that person for a while.
I love that. So you've been through so much in your life and in your business. You've taken it from the ground up, over 1,000 students, which is amazing. Now you're franchising. What advice would you give somebody who's stuck? Somebody who's maybe at their maybe they're teaching themselves in their
Hmm.
own house, and they're thinking, "Gosh, all these school owners have hired teachers, and they're doing all these amazing things. I don't even know where to start."
Hmm.
What advice would you give that person?
Get a friend. Get a friend who has already been successful doing this. Um, reach out to somebody. It could be maybe you Google who is this person? Who are the top people in my industry? Um, you can go on Facebook, send them a message. Go on Instagram, shoot them a message. When you ask someone for help, there are so many people who do want to help you. They want to see you be successful, and they're willing to share. I know that's something that before going into franchising, I never was a music school owner coach, but the amount of people who I had reaching out to me always asking for information, I mean, it's it's a lot. It's a lot. But you know what? I had no problem, and I still to this day have no problem sharing because those who are successful, they've gone through those hard days. I mean, you know what those days are like. And it's why we reach back and we're willing to share with people because we don't want to see people go through the same, there's no sense in them going through the same issues that we've gone through without having the answers.
So get a friend, reach out. And in our connected world now, it's pretty tough to, you know, to not know somebody that's in your industry that's maybe a few steps ahead
Yeah,
that would be willing to share.
the easiest thing now, I mean, we all know ChatGPT. I didn't know that you could call ChatGPT. You can pick up the phone and call 1-800 ChatGPT. Hey, Chat, um, I need to know five people who are really, really great in whatever the industry is. Um, can you please give me their information so I can reach out to them? And they're going to give you names of people who are in that industry. And then you're going to go reach out. It's so easy now in this world that we live in to get that information. And guess what? Those it doesn't work out with those five people. Call another five. Reach out to another five.
Yeah, and I love what you said earlier about how people want to help. It's, because I think a lot of the reason people don't do that is because they think, oh, well, who am I? Why? I'm not important. Why would somebody who's so successful want to talk to me or, waste their time or whatever? But it's just the opposite. Like it's people that are successful want to help. They want to reach back, and I
Yeah.
love how you put that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
usually I would say I had one. I did reach out when I first got into the industry. I remember I reached out to one person, and that person did not reach back to me. And even though I was trying to connect with them, but it also taught me, okay, this person's not one of those type of people, and that's okay too. It helps you find your tribe, know what people in the industry are the giving ones and what ones not so much.
when you look back on your business, was there a single decision that you made that shaped your success?
A single decision. Um, I would say it's a series of single decisions. I mean, I could say finding friends in business. I could say finding a network. I could say paying for a mentor. I could say all these different things. But for me, I think my single decision that I make on a regular basis is pressing the go button and overcoming fear. Like if you feel like opening up a music school, if you feel like opening up a theater for your music school or whatever business that you're thinking about doing or rolling out that podcast, whatever it is, there's so many things that tell you no, but sometimes just pressing go and doing it anyway. I think it's so important. I was meeting with a coach yesterday, and I was being asked to do something that made me really, really uncomfortable, not because it was the wrong thing to do, but because it was the right thing to do. But I knew it's going to be hard, and it's going to take time, and it's the reason I said to her, you know what, I literally have a tattoo on my wrist that says fearless, because I have to remind myself constantly that better is on the other side of fear. So when you start feeling that fear and you're that paralysis and being able to make a decision and knowing whether or not it's right or wrong, jump. And I would say I do that routinely when I have to make big decisions, big decisions. So when you feel that, lean into that and give yourself reminders to be fearless. Do it anyway.
What's a simple daily habit that helps you stay grounded and focused?
I have a series of, I have a checklist. I have my own
Okay.
checklist. But for me, I got to move my body first thing in the morning. I meditate after that. Um, and then I write down my goals for the day and affirmations. And I'll take it from when I got to meet Randy Zuckerberg. I can't remember if you were there at that conference, but when I got to meet her and she had her book Pick Three, and she said, you got to pick three things to focus on for the day. And I've really come to live by that. I choose three things to really make a focus of things I'm going to do great today. And I think by focusing on writing those down and writing my affirmations every day, so I can every day know where I'm going. I'm writing it the end in design. It's being designed and read every day. I've written out my dream day from beginning to end, and I'll read it every day. I'll listen to it because I've recorded it so I can hear it and feel it every day. Because it has to happen in your mind first before it happens in real life.
Dr. Talonda Thomas. You're an amazing person, and I hope to have you on again, my friend.
Thank
And I'm so
you.
happy with what you're doing with the franchising. So, one more time, what's the website people can go to?
People can go to nymcmusicfranchise.com. That's the abbreviation for New York Musician Center, nymcmusicfranchise.com. Check us out. And if you're someone who's interested in franchising, whether it be a music school brand or just franchising in general, I'm I'm someone who loves to share information and connect people with other people if I can't be helped, but of help to them. But David, you are the best. You are awesome. I'm so grateful for being on here and sharing this platform with you.
Awesome. Thanks.